guess I'm venting, talking about people pushing people and pushing people until they get upset or don't have options, and then push more crap onto them, and by a bunch of people who were basically fed with a silver spoon, so to speak. Never really had any consequences, and go around treating people badly. As an example of it is I made a video about why white people shouldn't tell people to go back to where they came from if they don't like something, or whatever circumstance they may say that under. White people saying that to other white people, and people talking like that. I made the example that saying that to black people, Spanish people, is a ridiculous thing to do, because there are Dutch people living in Africa today, and under affirmative action, the people who are native to that land get the jobs first in certain parts of Africa, or the whole thing, I don't know. But the point remains is these settlers from back in the day that wreaked havoc on the world and went around capturing people and making them slaves, well, their descendants are stuck there, and they're upset because they can't get a job, and they have to struggle, and there's no help for them, and they can't go back to where they came from, and they were actually perpetrators, ancestors of perpetrators, or their descendants of perpetrators of people who are over here saying that if you don't like something, go back where you came from. But the people who helped them, these people become slaves in the big picture, are sitting over there upset about affirmative action and the way it's affected white people over there, and so it's a moot point, and it's like, so that's an example of people saying things to push people or upset them that are totally unreasonable, when the tables are turned by the actual perpetrators of the whole situation, that orchestrated the whole situation, when it's their color that's trapped in Africa and has nothing, the same way black people were forced over here by the people in Africa who are upset about affirmative action. And I digress on all that, but it's like Richard Sackler, and what he did by lying about the addictiveness of those products, and the Republicans trying to make laws to offer them protections of the pharmaceutical companies, protections over any lawsuits for anything that they cause, just because someone says they're a Democrat, the way I view it is, just because someone is a politician, is a Democrat, that doesn't mean that they're an actual legitimate person, a Democrat. But so they make these laws that allow Richard Sackler to do what he did, and then try and protect those same people from repercussions for those actions, so there's a situation where legislation and all this stuff was allowed to let this happen, and make it so Richard Sackler, to my knowledge at this point, only had to give up $4 billion of the $10 billion profit that was made, and he gets to keep $6 million. And I sat there and watched what that drug did to Sanford, Florida, and particularly someone I used to hang out with, and I saw how that drug spread through his family and affected all of them in a very, very, very bad way, and they had kids, and it was bad. And my friend is now passed because of it. The end result of it, the whole thing with him is he smoked weed, and they wouldn't give him the script anymore. Well, you know what happened then. So that happened with a lot of people, and the thing is that's a situation where something was done and allowed to be done, and then laws to protect the person, and they got to keep their million so far, and they think they should keep all that money, the $6 billion that remain, and not be able to be sued anymore, and all that, and the thing is the situation was created this guy gets to keep all that. This family gets to keep all this money with the devastation that they created, and they don't want to be sued anymore. And now there's this huge drug problem. There's this huge crime problem that kind of really happened because of that. And when it comes to, you know, something to drugs, you know, the things that people will do to be able to get that substance, and basically Richard Sackler's lie just kind of basically at one, as substance wise, is doing what Trump is doing to the nation psychologically. And so all these people were pushed into these situations and ended up in worse situations. And then the Republicans want to talk about crime and drug use, and Project 2025 is now saying that, or they present that they're going to just, you know, basically what they're going to do is when Kevin Roberts said, or Robert Kevins, whatever his name is, said that there won't be any bloodshed if the left doesn't make it have to be. That's basically what he said. What he really meant is you're going to do what we tell you, or we're going to kill you. And you see, so they create all these situations and make all these problems happen, and then they bring it to a point like that, you know. And the thing is they go around doing stuff like that, creating these situations and then making them worse, and then talking rhetoric about them and saying there's all these bad people, and they created those bad people. And now it's to the point where we have a technology, and we have the technology to make the hardware to run the technology efficiently and actually get things done, where we can take all the data that's been collected since forever, and we can take and introduce it to a large language model. And you see, the thing is my view of Project 2025 and what it's really all about. You see, all these people spent money on the Department of Defense and whatever they were involved in, but you see, they know, you see, they're a person who has a lot of money and they have interest, and they're going to keep those interests. Well, they have people go over to other countries, and people over here and people over here, but still yet, those people that they send out to go places can be tracked back to them. They have been taking footage forever, and they've been logging locations of communications, of devices. People can do it anywhere. And now they're going to take, well, this person knows this person who has a lot of money, and he went over to this country, and all this bad shit happened over here, and he went over here, and all this bad shit happened over here, and then the guy that guy knew went over here, and all this bad shit happened over here. And not to mention them wanting to destroy NOAA, which is a device, which is a machine in its entirety, that is going to say that there have been people who have profited trillions of dollars off of fossil fuels or oil, and there's all this devastation and destruction and death going on because of it, and AI can take all that data that's just been sleeping, redundant, just sitting there, and actually utilize it to say that people, these individuals, are responsible for what's happened, and they have profited trillions over a very long time in the business, and people came to them and told them over and over, dude, this is bad, this is what's going to happen, this and this and this, and they ignored it, and they refused to believe it. I've sat there and watched congressmen say things addressing a climate scientist, and the climate scientist, or the politicians addressing the climate scientists, I can clearly see that they don't have a basic understanding of ice, water in a glass, and you put ice in it and it melts. Of course it doesn't rise. It gets a little bigger. It raises a little because of expansion from the heat. But the guy made that statement in reference to ice that is frozen on a land mass that's not in the ocean, and it melts and it runs into the ocean, and then the glass will overflow, essentially, if it came from outside the glass and it melted into the glass. And the thing is, to see politicians make statements like that, and then another politician make just as stupid statements, and a climate scientist sit there and remain civil and keep himself ordered and respectful in the environment that he's in, dealing with people who don't even understand basic things and are expressing that on camera in front of a whole audience, and they are our government representatives. Those people came and told them, and people talked to them, and they denied that, and they didn't want it. They just wanted the money. Well, now we're here with the technology that can take all this data that Noah's collected since 1980 or whatever it's been, take all that data, look where the patterns come from with plants being located in certain places, what emissions were out, and they'll be able to tell what affected what in the end. And people want to sit there and say that that's not possible. They're full of shit. Don't let them tell you that. Which is a reason that they want to control AI and make it so that only certain people have it. And then they get these people who have got these ethics degrees and these degrees with programming of AI, and they believe that no one else should be able to do it. You should have to go to school for 10, 12 years and keep going to school to be able to even mess with the technology. It's about control. It's about control. Programmers had to go to school, they had to pay to learn, and now essentially a person can have an AI write a program. And so they're useless, all their school is out the window. That's what it's about. It's about what they had, what they worked for, and now everybody can have it without that. Basically, to a certain degree, based on what knowledge they have or what they're willing to learn. So this is a fight over people feeling entitled because of what their experiences were in the world. Other people didn't have those opportunities or chances, and they think that this technology should be controlled because they went to school and they earned it. Now everybody can do this stuff. There's people who have gone around the world and sent people out into the world, and it can all be tracked back for years and all be used against them when they say all this shit started happening in these certain areas when a person connected to a few other people that are connected went out there and visited them and started interacting. And the thing is that's a big threat to them. And they've sat there and created all these bad situations. It's just like the guy who was in the military that wrote reports on the alien or UFO technologies and the threats that contractors make to hide the technology that they're working with. And he did this whole Congress address. And it's the same way as the confusion they create. It was UFO, and then it was, and then it became aerial phenomena. When you throw a word like phenomena in, to the average person that hears it and isn't really going to be into or listen because they use the word phenomena, they might listen, but it doesn't matter. It's a phenomena. It's something that is completely ununderstood. It's not understood, but the point is we understand these things. We know what they are. People are seeing them everywhere. I have seen one stop, just come into view at Daytona Beach on the coast and stop right on top of where the rockets go up, exactly where they go up on top of NASA. I have seen the things that everybody else is saying they're seeing. The one I saw, I understand it was very close to me, but it was as big as the moon was in the sky, as far as away as big as it was. So they've got some pretty big ones. I've seen the same thing that everybody else is saying they're seeing on the net. One, I walked out my door at 3 o'clock in the morning to walk my dogs and looked to have the perfect view of rockets go up out my front door. I saw one. So they create all these situations and keep us all trapped. And when it almost gets to a point where they're about to get in trouble, just like the school, the kickball games at school, where the wealthy kids, the kids who had everything, and everybody just kind of, whatever, let them do what they want, because they hope they could get some of that. We're out playing a game of kickball, and the teacher every once in a while leaves us out there on our own while she goes sits in a chair and grades papers, and she says, y'all play the rules, don't make up no rules, and that's that. And what happens, the rich kid starts making up his own rules, and then other people underneath, the alpha or whoever's taking the initiative in the group, starts making up rules, and then they switch sides. People go along with it, switch sides, and then the other team has the same opportunity to use the same rule that person made up, and all of a sudden, there's a technicality and you can't do that, and then the teacher gets involved, and then she comes over and he's like, I told you all, every time I knew it was going to happen, and the teacher goes over and sits down and lets it happen, so it does happen, and it happens, and it's always the rich kids who start it when we did that in school, and it's just like, so like now I gotta say, and this is the way I really see it, they've got to destroy Noah, the weather thing and the weather satellites and shut it down or sell it off to people who want to or have their same interest and goals and make us pay to see it or watch aired commercial and news when shit's going on. Really, Project 2025, I believe to the core of me, is the equivalent of a late night evidence shredding project. It's where their chaos has gotten to the point and the technology has gotten out of their control and they might not be able to get control of it. So people like Trump and who have been on Epstein's Island, and remember, dude, the military satellites, which cannot be used against citizens, they've tracked where all these people have gone and who's involved what, and all this data is there, and they've got to shut it down. Whether it be corrupt contractors messing up, doing things against humanity and human individuals and groups and areas, and it being traced back, or it be Donald Trump, Epstein, or Matt Gomez and his buddy who got in trouble, and what Mitt Romney said at the RNC about Matt Gomez and all that. It's like they got to do a late night shredding session, and they have literally told that Kevin Roberts, I think his name is, literally said there will not be any bloodshed long as the left doesn't make there be any. And basically what that meant was, you will do what we say or we will kill you. It's very simple to interpret and understand, as far as I'm concerned, and what everything I know to be true in this world. And it's sad that there's 8 billion, we're like 8.9 billion, 8.59 billion strong on this planet right now, and there's this few little group of people, that are doing what they're doing. It's like Nehemiah. Now they're starting. I said this a long time ago when he raided Temple Mount. He raided a church service, and just like what Trump is doing right now with the Christian group, and it's a God thing, and God's protecting him, and Nehemiah raided a church service to provoke them. And just today, I hear for the first time on the news, they're saying that Nehemiah is provoking them over there and causing the situation to escalate, and that's what he's doing. So, Nehemiah creates this situation. He comes over to my Congress, my country, where I'm a resident and citizen of, and says I'm a useless idiot because I don't support what he's doing. And basically it's to the point now where their behavior of creating problems and then complaining about them and making laws and saying we have to do something about this problem, when they created the whole problem, let it happen and let it get to the point that it was, and it's sad that there's people in the world who think that they're better than other people. In Wikipedia, there's actually a page, I forget what the word is, but it has to do with this theory that wealthy people think that they're entitled to be above and control and manipulate other people by heritage, by their DNA. And it's a real thing. You should go read it sometime and figure out what the word is. But it's sad that they create all these situations and then want to call me and other people useful idiots for not supporting them when it's clear to see what they're doing. And a year later, people are starting to talk about it, and they say that we need to clean this up and we need to do that, when they created the entire situation. And watching overseas news from over in that area, aired broadcasted stations with a translator and a video translator, and watching that and reading it, what the audio was, I admit there are some very concerning things going on over there. But provoking situations and bringing people's gods into it, whether it be raiding a church service or a bullet flying by Trump's head and them using that to say that God is protecting him and it was meant to be, and all this and that, it's sad and it leads to stupid situations where, what the situation has escalated to over there, that basically Iran or Iraq or whatever it is that's pissed off, stated at one point that, like, if someone doesn't buy our iron, we're gonna start a war. So I guess people can function and get along over there as long as there's certain things are just moving around and money's flowing around fairly. But mess with someone's iron and they're gonna blow something up, So I don't really know what they got going on over there and how twisted and manipulated it is. But it's a bunch of people over there, a few small group of people in different governments that are creating the whole situation that exists over there for whatever reason, for their interest, I'm pretty sure, not their actual citizens. And it's all really sad. And I hope that these situations that people create and then complain about and create more trouble for the situation and turn it into a huge blown out mess where everybody's just throwing their arms up and not looking at it, that they created, and then they're going to offer us a solution while they're making a whole bunch more problems over here that you ain't looking at. Republican conservative, that is the Republican conservative method. I've dealt with it since I was 3 years old, long enough to remember my interactions with people that were my age. It's almost like there's a huge narcissistic element to the conservative Republican thing, but with the Christian part of it, it's more of a subservient narcissism, projecting its ideology, projecting itself through a filter of subservience, and you're there to serve a certain purpose for this egotistical God, and they use it. And so I think if the technology doesn't get suppressed and actually gets utilized properly, at minimum, and they don't take the technology or most of the ability of the technologies away from other people with AI, I think the world is going to become a much bigger place, and the people who go around creating situations and complaining about the repercussions of them will not be able to do it anymore, because logic and data is pretty infallible. What it says to you, you might realize you have a few options or paths to take down humanity's road, but those are the options. And when you take the language that we speak and think in and apply it to a computer, and it gives you the results of the language model, the language that the protocol that we use to communicate stuff to each other, and it gives it to you, you either have to accept the options, or you're just going to ignore it and just let everything go down another path that probably would not be as successful as if you would have took just the computer outputs and took an option. It amazes me to hear politicians say that AI is coming up with better solutions to climate change than other people are saying. But when they say that, what I believe is they're saying we have a lot of personal interests that we have going on for ourselves. The solutions that AI is offering to us doesn't fit our bottom line. Once again, they're creating more problems for us to deal with until they can find a solution that works for them, for the problem that they created. It's the conservative Republican way. And the technology, if they don't suppress it, like an episode on the Twilight Zone or Outer Limits, we will not live in a fascist environment. Students will be able to go to school and be in a safe environment and not have to worry about offensive things that other people say to them, because everybody will acknowledge that they're offensive. And the actual result of people not being allowed to say those things, or being accepted by the structure, the infrastructure that is the school, being allowed to be said in the public space, it'll stop, and people will be able to focus on school. I don't know how to spell. There's a lot of things I don't know how to. I made A+ in science all the time, but there's a lot of things that I don't know how to do because people were bullying me. I ran from one class to the next to avoid a bully, and then sat in the class and sat there and thought about worrying about getting to my locker and getting to my next class before he caught up with me and hit me or something, which happened on a daily basis, that the school bus driver sat there and let happen in front of the bus every day before she was allowed to leave. She'd look at her watch and look forward and let it happen 5 steps in front of the door to the bus. We won't have to deal with that. People will be able to become better people and focus on the needs of the whole as a body, and focus on themselves and be creative in their nature without, some guy, punching them in the rib, and every time they bend over in life, they feel that, just because he was getting whatever he was dealing with at home. I have a permanent injury because of that shit, because of that behavior. Do as I say or I'll hit you, just because you're weak and kind and nice, and you're doomed to fail. So I'm going to beat you and make you weaker and more passive than you ever were. And that's the Republican conservative way, I really believe.